This is going to be a little bit more of a free form kind of discussion, a bit of a talk. I normally do a lot of scripting and I go through and I piece together, I re-record a few times, and I'll be clipping through this, obviously, but I kind of wanted to do a little bit more kind of shooting from the hip. I don't know, there feels like a bit of a disconnect between me, the script writer, and me, the person. And I feel like I'd rather just talk directly into the camera, talk directly to you guys, so you can just kind of hear my thoughts without it being this big scripted thing that I get really nervous about and all that. I'm having a lot of fun with the Dragon Isles. So far, I think it's a pretty good expansion. I'm actually coming back to WoW from Cataclysm. So it's been a long time. I joined the military, so I was disconnected from the game for a long period of time. My background with Warcraft, just so you kind of get an idea of where I'm coming from, Warcraft 2 was one of the first games that I played as a little kid, a lot. And then Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos was one of my favorite games. And I remember the Frozen Throne being released and playing that. The Frozen Throne is actually the game that got me into game design and game development. I built a few modded maps. Some of them got pretty popular. My big project that I spent years on as a kid, I couldn't actually upload to the Battle.net network because I didn't know that there was a cap on the size of a map, a custom map you could make. Basically, I added videos and stuff to it. Like I was editing videos even back then, and I didn't understand the concept as a kid that the space that was being taken up was those videos, those cinematics I was trying to add, and that screwed me up. I imagine if I went back in time and just took those videos out, it probably would have been fine. Anyway, I digress. So Warcraft has a very special place in kind of my core, as Warcraft 3 and tower defense stuff like that was a lot of my introductory into gaming and cooperative gaming, and my gateway into game development, game design. And from there, I remember looking at pictures online. We have to load a web page and it would load from top to bottom, all the pictures loading slowly. And the very first picture of World of Warcraft that I saw was a group of orcs riding on the back of dire wolves across the Barrens. Obviously, I didn't know what the Barrens was at the time, but I remember seeing that picture, and the idea of a character riding on a mount was insane to me. And the graphics and the scale, it was insane. As a kid, it blew my mind. And they were like, well, you're going to be able to get these mounts and ride these mounts. And I'm like, no, no way, no shot, not going to happen. It's just kind of crazy to think that that was such a mind-blowing thing at the time. So my birthday comes around 2004, December 12th is my birthday. And I want, World of Warcraft has been out for weeks at this point, and I waited years. It felt like years. Maybe it wasn't years, but it felt like years for it to release. And I got it, and I want to say December like 20th, 23rd, something like that, 2004. That's when my Warcraft account was made. I played like hell. I played a ton. I couldn't even, it was madness. Back then it was madness, right? You were so enthralled with the world and with all the different races and all the different things that it was like, you didn't really have like a meta. You didn't have this. I mean, some people were deep into the meta. I was too young that I didn't care. I just wanted to run around, and my brothers played, my dad played, some of my closest friends played. We would make these goofy characters and just play them up to level 20 or something like that, and then never play them again. It was crazy. And it was good. There was, without getting too, I don't want to get too deep into it, but there was a years long, 5, 6 years long tragedy in my life. Basically, I needed something to distract me, and I needed something to kind of sink my time and my teeth into. I was a little isolated during this times, and as a kid, World of Warcraft was like an escape from kind of sad reality I was faced with. And I bonded with my dad and my brothers a lot with the game. And then when we lost everything, we had to move away and stuff. It was bad. It was tragic times. I'm not going to get into it. It was horrible. It was awful. I'll sit here and start crying. We left, and the few friends that I did have, I lost those. The school I was at, lost that in the midst of all this other stuff going on. And the constant was Warcraft. World of Warcraft was a constant in my life, and it felt like when everything was so chaotic and crazy, Warcraft was something that I could come back to, and it would grow and expand, but it would never change. I don't know how else to say that. The best friend I've ever had, we bonded IRL. We bonded over our mutual love for the game. The game has sunk its teeth into me on so many levels. I went to college for game art and design because of Warcraft. Yeah, it changed every aspect of my life. I don't know how else to say it. I'll just leave it at that. And when I was in the military, it was so sad that I didn't get to keep up with it, but I made a lot of friendships in the military, other people who played. I was able to like play with some military friends in Warlords of Draenor, and a little bit when I was on my kind of exodus from the military. Battle for Azeroth. I got to play a little bit. Missed Legion entirely. Missed Pandaland almost entirely. So I tried out Shadowlands. I played it, I think, for like a week. I think I played it for a single week, like maybe 3 days of 1 week. And something about it felt kind of alien, and all the systems you had to be involved with and all the different things you needed to be kind of up to snuff, I guess. It was so overwhelming that even someone whose life was quite defined, changed, and improved because of this game, I couldn't play it, and it was sad. It was really sad. It was disappointing, and the sad part of it is just for a moment, I kind of felt like a chunk of me was gone, and it was just not going to come back. Right? That my game that defined quite a bit of my childhood is gone, and I just have to deal with that. So I got into Final Fantasy 14, played the ever living god of that. I'm a massive Square Enix fan. I would say that the Final Fantasy series has had as big of an effect on me as WoW has. Maybe a little less, but pretty close. That really got me into my storytelling and stuff like that. Now that I've rambled on, I'm waffling on here for 10 minutes about stuff, but I kind of want to lay the foundation because I've had this YouTube channel for a while. I've been building upon it for a while. I've never really talked about me. I don't really like talking about me that much. Just talking free flow into the camera like this makes me feel weird. I feel like I'm supposed to be scripting, and I'm supposed to be making this kind of cinematic experience or something. The human element here, I think, is very important. It's just not something I'm super comfortable with. I'll get there though. So I share this journey with you because I recently got the Dragonflight expansion. I wasn't sure what to expect. Everything sounded good. All these like dev interviews sounded really good. Team obviously has been pruned quite a bit. A lot of troublemakers are gone from Blizzard Entertainment. So, there was a lot of reasons to be hopeful, but I've kind of learned not to be hopeful because Blizzard has been failing in everything, not just in gaming. That's the crazy thing is like, Diablo Immortal total and complete utter trash. Hearthstone ended up being a model that I don't think was sustainable. Overwatch 2 has its problems. There's just heaps of disappointment. And Shadowlands, part of me doesn't even want to like consider Shadowlands as canon. Like, I almost want to just pretend it didn't happen, right? The molestation of the narrative that Shadowlands was felt unforgivable, in that, Pandaland, right? You have Pandera, Mists of Pandera. It's this side thing. It's this self-contained place. It's got some pretty neat stories involved in it, but it was like a side. It was next to the story, the main story, the world. Tied in for sure, but if it turned out that in one of the raids, the Lich King returned and you killed him again or something like that, that sort of thing feels bad. That feels terrible. You almost have I'm trying to think of, in Loki, what did they call it? The sacred timeline, right? So the way I see it is, you have this line, right? And at the beginning of this, oh yeah, it's backwards in the camera. At the beginning of this line, the original conflict between man and orc. And I would say that Arthas's story is probably the beginning of the story, right? So the man versus orc back and forth is kind of like the prelude to the story when we're talking in terms of World of Warcraft. And anything involving Arthas, Titans, dragons, Illidan, kind of the history of the elves, demons. There's a lot of those concepts that run very close to that, what I would call the sacred timeline, right? To undermine everything that came before Shadowlands with Shadowlands, the story was just an affront. It was weird. Even if the expansion itself was good, just some of those narrative bits that they put in there, what a shame. What a shame that they did that. A lot of that is like toothpaste you can't put back in the bottle. Like, you've already undermined the Lich King, and that's a hard one to put back. I don't think you can put that one back. So anyway, I know this shouldn't be about Shadowlands, but again, I'm trying to contextualize and create framework. Dragonflight has been an insanely refreshing experience, and I think refreshing is the only way I can really describe it. When I say refreshing, what I'm referring to is like the story feels more grounded. It's not this big, giant, cosmic demon, demon stabbing the planet, cataclysmic dragon, the war for Azeroth. World of Warcraft kind of suffers from that power creep that you see in like a lot of anime and a lot of series that just go on for too long. Once you've seen Goku kill a planet destroying being, you're like, well, where do you go now? And like, oh, now it's about gods, and now it's about fighting deities, and then we met the god of all gods, and it's just it's like you stretch and you stretch and you stretch, and you get this idea that, like, if Goku sneezed, it should blow off half the planet, or in a silly way, because the power creep's insane. And when we look at our heroes, our champions, our characters in World of Warcraft, you're kind of like, when someone says, you need to go kill 3 deer, you're like, man, I have fought God. Like, why is this deer take me, 13 hits to kill? Somehow with Dragonflight, I feel like they've smoothed that over by making everything you do more grounded and more kind of low stakes, low tier. And it's like it's more self-contained in that it's not a world problem, it's a faction problem, it's an individual problem. Caligos, he's got a lot to he's got a lot to repair. He's got to repair his blue dragonflight. He's got to, he feels like a failure in a lot of ways, or he feels weaker than he should be, or undeserving of his position. And you're like, okay, I understand that. There's very human reactions to being put into this position of power. You have Alex Straza's kind of always been just Alex Straza. Honestly, I think she's kind of one of the more boring characters, even though I know she's kind of the front face for the expansion. Maybe I've seen too much of her. I don't know. She just seems a little bland to me. All these different little factions all scattered around, super fun to interact with. That's my personal history with World of Warcraft, and that's why I'm going to be putting out a lot of content that surrounds World of Warcraft, because if it's in a good place that I'm having fun playing it, I want to. I really, really want to enjoy the game, and I really, really want to play the game. I think out of all the games that I've ever played, it's the one that I like sharing the most. It's the one that I like to talk about lore-wise the most of almost any game I've ever played. It's not all about content, right? It's not like, obviously I got this YouTube channel, it's gaming related, and I want to make content for it. This is something I can speak to in an excited way, and I know the characters, and it's not just play this, this MMO for 2 weeks, give your first impressions, move on to the next one, and you never learn anything. Like, this is something I can really talk about and that I really enjoy. I've put in probably about 30 to 40 hours into the new expansion. Got a guy to 70, waiting for the raids to open up. I'm doing all the side quests, and I'm doing all of the, even though I've capped out my level, I'm still running through all the quests because it's really fun and I'm really enjoying it. And I feel this this desire to 100% every zone. Again, not something I've experienced or felt in a very long time. I think the first time the boats pulled up to Northrend and I started doing quests kind of across the open field, I was Alliance at that point in time. And that was an amazing experience. I loved exploring Northrend, and I feel a little bit of that again, exploring the Dragon Isles. Being a stranger in a strange land, there's nothing better than it. That is the experience you want as an MMO player. To be a stranger in a strange land feels so good. Familiar enough to like understand what you're looking at, alien enough to not know what to expect. And I think that's kind of a perfect place to be design wise. This is a really off the cuff video, and it's a little for me. But yeah, so far really enjoying the game, really enjoying the leveling experience and the animations, all the revamps, the talent tree, the HUD, the profession revamp, all of that is pretty good. But thank you for coming to the channel. Thank you for watching these videos. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. And to my community that's been around for a while, and the Discord, just thank you so much for pushing me and for really supporting me. And a lot of that stuff can go so far. I have horrible ADHD and imposter syndrome, so I talk really fast. I get really nervous. Just your kind words have really, really helped me make more content and to want to be a little bit more bold and get in front of the camera more and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening to my rambles, and I hope that I'll see you all in the Discord, in the community, and other places around, and we'll have a chat in the comments and all that. I look forward to that stuff. So have a great one, and take it easy, guys. Take it easy.